reality show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa. And this show is about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have shows and topics.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
Monday, Tuesday,
Happy days.
Wednesday, Thursday,
Happy days.
Friday, whatever.
Happy days.
What a day. Na, 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 na.
I love you.
I love you too.
Best known as the mom from Happy Days, and she is a delightful 89-year young Marion Ross to my studio. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Dr. Marissa, this is such a treat for me. My goodness, you're a wonderment.
Which is exactly the kind of guest that I like. Those who have gone through life, good and bad, and then taken those experiences to alchemize them into the person they are now and doing good on the planet. I'd like you to welcome Corey Feldman.
If you're grateful for it and you say right away, thank you, God. Oh, my God, it's so beautiful. I'm so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then guess what? More good things will come to you.
Does this sound familiar at all? She's back again to mark my Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month show. Please welcome Fran Drescher. Hi, Fran.
On and supporting cancer schmance. I really appreciate it.
So what would you say are some of the biggest myths, Fran, that people have about cancer?
Well, I would say that they think that there's a cure for it.
Okay.
Instead of a cause for it.
This is the first call-in show when I get to be Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. And people call in to get their life tires balanced and their critical thinking or their BS, their belief systems, smog checked. And today I am delighted to have Malie calling in from Birmingham, Alabama.
We could go 90 days and end up having terrible sex. And then you say, well, the relationship's not all about sex. Well, if I'm not getting great sex from you, then I'm going to get it from somebody else. Right?
That moose just got put on the table. And I see Josh and Jim.
I have to agree
You're
with Clyde.
both nodding. Ramon's sort of half nodding because his wife's listening. But
I understood what was going to happen if Muhammad Ali's youngest daughter, made public that I was going to become a boxer. So I wanted to make sure this was the path that I wanted to go down.
you are absolutely fabulous, beautiful inside and out. And I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award today.
Thank you.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point.
When I go, I'm gone.
Are you lonely?
No.
Nah, I knew that was going to be
But
the answer.
I surround myself with people. I mean, I'm always the one cooking for things. I'm always the one that decorates first and come to my house. All the orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so I can come over.
Come on over.
And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Jump
off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balance with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Life, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, and more. Yes, why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. That's what this show is about. Going on, 591 consecutive weeks. This is show number 1009, and I'm so glad that the people who said good news would not last were wrong. Not that I'm putting anybody down, because we don't do that on this show. No gossip, no scandal, no K-words, no Kanye talk at all. I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and guests. We've had such interesting people this past 1008 episodes, because I am so grateful that I get to meet super fun people, not only to have as guests on the show. You saw it on the promo preceding this actual live. You can also see them in studio with me as my co-hosts. And today is no exception. This is actually my newest co-host. It's called Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate. Hey.
Hey, I'm so happy that you are here. Welcome back to the studio. She's a veteran. She's an OBGYN. She is a cook. She's a singer. And she obviously is my sister in the Don't Die Wondering life motto, so that she's here. And we just come at you right now every Wednesday. So welcome to our show. And we're going to be talking about resilience today. But officially, welcome to Dr. Tiffanie. And we have also streaming with us live. She joins us when she can. She's my social co-host. I'm going to call her Maria with Tea and Telly. Good morning to you as well, lovely lady. And if you're wondering how you can also get your name and comments and questions up on the stream, please do go to my official home, my YouTube TV channel, where you can watch and listen and comment and chat and do the gratitude sandwich. So that's usually what we do first thing, is take a bite of my gratitude sandwich. It is breakfast with Dr. Marissa and my co-host,
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
8 specific things that you are grateful for. This way we start the day in the most positive way. Short as possible, one word. If you're on the chat, Maria, you can put a one word on what you're grateful for so we can zip through this. So I'm grateful for the pool.
I am grateful for air conditioning.
I'm grateful for Kleenex.
I am grateful for water.
I'm grateful for restaurants.
I am grateful for ice.
And another thing, Maria, you have to be grateful for something. Frank, you can also tag in. I think we're at, 6 already? That was good. I am grateful for sunshine.
I am grateful for sleep.
I am grateful for my sense of taste.
And I am grateful for the ability to eat.
Yay. So that's the top of the bun. Now we go to the bottom of the bun, which is a little different than gratitude. It's appreciation. So Appreciation is, what do you like about yourself? Why do I think this is important? Because I believe, it's my BS belief system, that self-care is the hallmark or foundation of good mental health. And you can't care about yourself if you don't like yourself. And if you're like me, I'm a recovering self-hater. I spent many years criticizing myself. I'm my own worst enemy. Nobody's harder on me than myself, and all that BS bullshit-talky that kept me unhappy. So what I do is exercise your muscle first thing in the morning. What do you like about yourself? What is good about you? And that might be a little more difficult for women and women, colorful women, as I call them, because of cultural norms. Maybe you're Japanese or Chinese, the nail that stands up is hammered down. So you're told not to talk about how good you are, not to be all that. So it's a little bit more difficult. Obviously, I've gotten over that. So I'll say, I appreciate that I am funny.
I appreciate my heart. My heart.
And Maria is in with a gratitude. Her cat smiles and tacos.
Well, tacos are tasty.
Tacos, that's awesome. And now you can put down appreciations. I appreciate that I am a good exerciser, which is why I'm sweating right now. I did 23 minutes on the bike and then 40 laps in the pool.
Oh, way to go. You get a thumbs up.
And your turn?
I appreciate my faith.
I appreciate my resilience. Haha, that's the topic for today.
That's really good. I appreciate my ability to forgive.
I appreciate my ability to love my life.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I appreciate my kindness.
Beautiful. And I am going to wrap it up with, I appreciate my smile.
A beautiful smile it is.
And yours as well. So that is it for Gratitude Sandwich, having breakfast with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
This is a special new series called Doctors in the House. And Dr. Tiffanie is a board certified OBGYN. I am a psychologist, but of the organizational kind. That is why we have doctors in front of our name. Mine's a PhD, which just stands for piled higher and deeper. So not that much to be impressed with. Just kidding. We both have wanted to bring that expertise here, but we also are very open and love interacting with people, because this is about life experience and how we can be happy 88% of the time. This is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, and it is on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 106.5, home to the Asian Oprah, the station that leaves no listener behind. And now we are going to let my co-host introduce the topic for today. And as I was saying, we would love for you to ask us questions and or make comments on this topic called resilience. So, Dr. Tiffanie, take it away.
So today we're going to talk about resilience. And right now we have had a lot going on in this country. And before we talk about resilience, I want to start with a poem from my book, from my first book called Floetry, 108 Poetic Flows on Life, Love, and Liturgical Issues. And this poem is called The Skin You Are In. It is amazing how some people treat others differently based on the color of the skin they are in. It is funny because no one picked the race they were born within. We do not choose our parents or the land we call home. No person is pure anything if we took a look at their chromosomes. No one selects their genetics, and that is a matter of fact. Why can't everyone be treated equal? Can we make that pact? The 13th Amendment of the Constitution abolished slavery and involuntary servitude, except for the punishment of a crime. Mass incarceration of blacks in our nation is the new form of slavery in our time. Dr. King was arrested about 30 times or so. During this time, America hated him, or did you not know? The FBI spied on King and viewed his rhetoric as extreme. As he challenged the status quo, he was not held in esteem. I'm amazed that after his assassination, they could not find who did this in this great nation. A nation divided will eventually fail, and bigoted thinking will drive our nation straight to hell. Do not think of yourself as being better than those with darker skin. Our country can only get better when we treat everyone as equal, despite the color of the skin they are in. And so,
Wow. Wow. Hold on. And just in case you didn't know who that was, it's my co-host, my new co-host on Wednesdays with Doctors in the House. Her name's Dr. Tiffanie Tate, and she writes poetry. That's actually how I first found her. She contacted me several years ago and asked if she could be a guest on my show with her poetry book. And then I love the story. She reached back out to sing me happy birthday when it came up on social media. And you just never know what's going to happen when that happens. She ends up being my co-host. So thank you for bringing your poetry. I love creativity. You covered a lot of ground in that poem. Hopes and wishes for our country, color of skin, the state of our prison system. So I am delighted to be able to highlight that. Now, before I forget, what is the book called that people can get that poem from?
this one is called Flowetry 108 Poetic Flows on Life, Love, and Liturgical Issues.
And that's a beautiful cover art as well. Did you do that cover art?
No, my friend from elementary school, Dr. Bernice Badillo, she did the cover art.
Wow, beautiful. Maria gave you a little applause. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes.
Good. And she also did a little appreciation. I want to recognize she likes that she makes people laugh. I appreciate I was chosen to teach meditation to the Asian group. Okay, I appreciate my love for animals and people. So she's a late entry for the breakfast. It's my fault. I didn't see it until we were done with the gratitude sandwich. But thank you for that entry, Maria. And I just give me a little about poetry and how you discovered that you were a poet.
Well, I believe that after I had to stop practicing medicine, I had to find myself. And that was part of my story of becoming resilient and redefining who I was. And I believe that everyone comes to a crisis of self. And I believe that a lot of times we struggle with a redefining of who we are and who we need to be. And when we go through that redefinition, we have to become resilient. And in essence, we have to what we call fail. And I always teach my children that failure is okay. And I use the acronym FAIL, fail. It's okay to fail. Fail is first attempt in learning. And if it's a first attempt, there has to be a second, a third, and a fourth, and a fifth. And numbers are infinite, which means that it's okay to not reach your goal the first time. The most important thing is to never give up and to never stop trying. And I believe right now in our society, we have a crisis going on. We see with what happened recently, how that person went in and attacked people because of the color of their skin. And then he committed suicide. So not only do you have a person in a mental health crisis, a person with a racial crisis, you have a person who needed all kinds of help. And I believe that their community failed them, society failed them, and their friends failed them. Because at some point, someone should have spoke to them because there were signs. And if someone could have talked to them and said, hey, I don't think you're going down the right path. Let me reach out to you. Let me help you. And a lot of times we don't want to talk. We don't want to communicate. We don't want to express our feelings. And part of being resilient is letting people know that it is okay to express our emotions. A lot of times we see that as being a weakness, but it's not. It's okay to communicate how we feel. It's okay to express that things are not okay. Because the only way you can lift someone up is to let people know that you are down.
That's a great point. It reminds me of another acronym, and I love your acronym, by the way. I think I might steal that, uh, but I put it up there for people to see. Um, when you meet people and they say, I'm fine, how are you? I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. When in reality, fine stands for effed up, irrational, neurotic, and emotional. So the truth is, but you're not fine, you're fine. So, yes, it is absolutely important to be honest about how you are feeling. My caveat, though, is you do not have to tell everyone if you're not okay, because I'm a student and teacher of the law of attraction. So if you continuously focus on how you are not fine, it will continue to highlight ways in which you'll get shown how you are not fine. So what you focus on grows bigger. So for me, the balance is you have to be honest with at least two people. Used to be three, but I found that three was just regurgitating the same negative story over and over. So I limit it to two. And then after I say it one time, I don't say it again, because that anchors and begins to grow the habit. Now, so you want to pick people that are helpful. So you don't want to just vent to the person in line in front of you in the store, but having a good friend or a relative or a coach or a therapist that you can be honest with is so important. So I just wanted to piggyback on that point on the balance.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to find a safe space or a safe place or someone or two to confide in. And you want to find someone who's going to give you sound advice. No, not the crazy friend, not the one who's going to just co-sign on everyone. You want someone who's going to be open, honest, not the person who you know is going to give you the outrageous, outlandish advice. You want to find someone who's the critical thinker, and you really know who that person is. And you want to be objective and honest with them. And you really know who you can confide in if you search within your soul, because we always know who our friends who we can talk to are and who the ones you shouldn't talk to are.
Good point. Good point. I pick them by asking myself, are they balanced in their criticism with compliments? So I'm a recovering codependent. So I have a habit or a predisposition to seek out people who are controlling, who are negative, and I can't make them happy because that's how I grew up. So I know that kind of person. And until I could heal my own inner stuff, I would pick bosses that were controlling. I would pick partners that were controlling because that was my habit. So until I grew up myself and I balanced out my critic, then I could pick someone who was not always complimentary, but not always critical. So if you're like me, I had to do a little soul searching before I could pick that right person, the best person for me.
And that's true because a lot of times when you grow up in a situation of abuse, you can find yourself being addicted to that abuse and misuse. And you find yourself in a pattern and you start wondering, why am I always in the same situation? Whether it is professionally, whether it is in a relationship. And you're like, why am I with the same type of woman? Why am I with the same type of man? And the only way you can fix an issue like that is to start to understand that there is a pattern, because you can't fix a problem until you start to identify that the problem exists. And is there anything wrong? Well, only you can decide it. You have to look within yourself and say, am I happy? Is this okay? Do I want to live like this? And that's where that resilience comes from. Can I bounce back from this? How do I feel? What do I want? And it's all about you. Resilience is identifying the problem and recovering from the problem. How do I recover from this? What are the next steps that I want to take to make my situation better? Resilience is climbing up out of a situation, because it's okay to be in a situation. The question is, how do I get out of it? How do I improve from it? And what do I want to do to make myself better and make this situation better? That is the resilience. Resilience is bouncing back because, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Because I know when I grew up, I'm just a kid from Compton. And for me to have parents who were addicted to drugs, my aunt raised me since I was 2. For me to have become an officer in the United States Navy, to have become a surgeon, and for me to be where I am now, it took a lot. And for me to have all that taken away from me, and for me to become an author, to recover from that, and for me to be here on the radio with you, it took a lot of resilience, a bouncing back to say, okay, I'm not gonna let this keep me down. I'm not gonna let depression keep me down. It took a lot of resilience. It took a lot of climbing out of a lot of holes. You have to decide, how much mental fortitude do I have? What is it that I'm going to do? You're going to get knocked down. Life is going to take the wind out of you. It's the reality of the situation. It is going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Only you can decide, am I going to climb up out of the pit and fight to make my life better?
Well said. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering what's going on in my studio, this is Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. And it is Wednesday, time for my newest series called Doctors in the House. And just a disclaimer here, neither one of us are licensed therapists, so we are not giving clinical advice, but we are both doctors, one PhD and one MD. And so we are giving our experience, especially with resilience, the topic for today. So use it, and you are welcome to comment and ask questions on the chat, because that's what we love to do. And thanks for joining us. I do see eyeballs rolling in. So thank you, Maria, for your entry earlier. I was about to break out and because we had talked about doing a song. You got to know this one. Feelings, nothing more than feelings. Barry Manilow. So the point of resilience that we are trying to communicate is
as I wrote in the promo, I don't think that we give enough kudos when we talk about people and their success. We talk about their ability to achieve. We talk about their ability, oh, that's a smart cookie, or they have a lot of discipline or discipline, or they're good salespeople. But resilience, in my book, and as Dr. Tiffanie has been talking about in her life, I believe is pretty much top 3 on why people are successful in what they do. And so I am an example of getting up, and no matter what happens, I still get back in the ring. Now, the only problem with that analogy is I do not believe that life has to be a fight. Yes, it is true that bad things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. And as Dr. Tiffanie says, we are not immune to anything in our lives that we don't like. That just is life. It's a ride, right? I call it the joy ride of my life. I have a lot of stops. Some of them are great stops, big highs, wonderful achievements, happy, happy, happy. And then some of them are, oh crap, I lost $200,000 consulting contract. Crap. I'm in a pandemic where toilet paper is now gold. Crap. Dr. Tiffanie had a fall, in the height of her OBGYN career, doing great things, surgery, and she can't do surgery anymore. That's a huge hit. Both of us had very difficult, we are both one of 2 of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma. That's not something we wanted, but we did not let that get us down. And that, I think, is the definition, getting back up, bouncing back. How quickly can you recover? How quickly can you step back into the ring? And I don't believe, you said earlier something about it's okay to be, it's not wrong. It's, I've tried to take out wrong and right, because I think it puts us in that box again, that there's one right way. It's, for me, is it useful or not? So if you're trying to be resilient, the last thing you want to do is beat up on yourself and shit on yourself. I made a stupid decision. I made a huge mistake. I have so many regrets on the decisions that I've made. All of those statements are not part of resilience, because it keeps you down. It doesn't help you get back up. It keeps you in that hole. So we are in the second half of the show, where I like to focus on solution. So you, all those listening right now, think about the ways in which you are helping yourself develop the muscle of resilience, and how you are hurting yourself with respect to resilience. I would love to see some of that on the chat. Go ahead, Dr. Tiffanie.
Yes. So I know when I was at my bottom, I was at my bottom and it was rough. And what I decided to do, I prayed. You can try to figure out what you need to do. And I had my come to Jesus moment, and I decided to start writing. And that gave birth to my first book, where I read the poem out of Poetry, 108 collections of life, love, and liturgical issues. I took my childhood trauma of being abused, and I wrote my second book, Bad Touching, and that's helping children identify sexual abuse. And what I have decided to do is to try to make the world better, one book at a time. And what you can do, you may not want to write books, and that's okay. So I have decided that I'm going to take my energy and focus it on helping people. I volunteer with my sorority. I volunteer at my church. I've written a church play called The Souls of Women that they're going to perform on Friday, October 13th. I am going to do a book signing at the Taste of Soul in Los Angeles, and that's going to be October 21st. And so I'm constantly trying to figure out, how can I help? How can I give back? Everyone has something to give and to do. You have something in your life that you can give and you can do. I tried and I entered the Carla Hall cooking competition. I made it all the way to the semifinals, and I placed sixth. And I beat out hundreds of thousands of cooks. So I did well. I didn't win first place, but I did pretty well. They sent me a nice favorite chef apron and goodies and things like that. And so everyone has something that they can do. You can turn your negative into a positive. You can figure out how you can take your negative into a positive. I don't know what your negative into a positive is, but you can do it. So there are no wrong things in your life. You can make it, you can do it. You can turn your ashes into something beautiful.
Beautiful. Maria, I got a degree in criminal justice to do the same, to help people. And that turn is, I believe, one of the foundations of resilience. If you can view pain as a positive thing, now this is like completely, what? Pain is a good thing? I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite stories, and I told it the other day. I'll do a shortened version because I meant to do it the last time we had a show, and I forgot. 2 rocks in a store. Rock on the left, nobody goes to. Rock on the right, everybody goes and says, oh my goodness, what a beautiful rock. So beautiful, so beautiful. Look at the way the light goes through. Da, 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 da. 8 years later, the rock on the left is pissed off. And it gets off its stool and shakes its hand and says, life, you are not fair. For every single day, I have to watch people go up to the rock on the right and say, oh, it's so beautiful. And nobody ever comes to me and says anything nice to me. Life, you are not fair. Life puts his arm around the rock on the left and says, darling, every time I come to you with my chisel and start to do some work, you say, stop, it hurts. Don't touch me, don't touch me. Moral of the story, if you don't have any pain, you cannot change to become a beautiful sculpture. You cannot rise out of the ashes to become that phoenix, which is my middle name in Chinese, by the way. Surprise, surprise. So I believe that if you can actually embrace pain in your life and remember that the chick pecks out of the egg because it's choking in pain on its poop fumes. The caterpillar is uncomfortable and in pain in the pupa, so it gets out as a butterfly. So every time there's pain in life, if you cannot try to avoid it and actually say, I can't, you don't have to like it. All right. I am very expressive when I get pissed off or something happens and it hurts. I'm quick to get in touch with those feelings. I love to cry. I love to get, bite my pillow to get that feeling, this uncomfortable feeling out of me. And then I ask this question, which is for me, the secret key to resilience. I can't wait to see what good comes out of this. I can't wait to see what good comes out of this. When I say that, the pain that I'm feeling becomes transformative. I don't try to avoid it. I don't try to push it down. I'm like, okay, I know that there's going to be something good that's going to come out of this. And as quickly as I can, I want to figure out what it is. And I open myself up to the pain because I know I'm being chiseled, not being punished. There's not a God or a Santa saying I'm naughty and hurting me. None of that bullshit talking. It is simply a way to chisel me into the beautiful, one-of-a-kind, wonderful sculpture that I am.
I think there was I heard a story similar to this. There was a traveler passing through a land, and he came upon a family, and they were like near starvation, and all they had was a cow that they survived upon. And he went to them and he said, "Can you help me?" And they were like, "All we have is this cow." And they gave him some milk, and he prayed with them, and it was like, okay, he had this feeling, and God told him to kill the cow, and he was like, but this is all they have. He's like, if you want to help the family, kill the cow. So when they were sleeping, he killed the cow, and he left. And then on the way back, it was like maybe a year later, the town had grown and it was very prosperous. And he was like, oh, well, what happened? He was like, what? Our cow was dead. So we had to do all this extra farmland. We had to travel and bring grain back. And so they actually had to become more resilient, and they had to think and figure out other ways to be more resourceful, because before they were just relying on the milk of the cow and barely getting by. But because they lost that livelihood and they killed the cow, they started selling the beef from the cow, and then they were able to buy other things. And once they did that, they were like, oh, there was more to this cow than what we needed. So they were able to get more livestock, they were able to buy chickens, and they were able to think outside of the box. So a lot of times we have this mentality where we don't really know all of the resources that are available to us, and we don't really know all of the gifts that we have within us. Like me, when I went to college, I loved writing, and I started out as an English major, but I always wanted to be a physician. And when I went to college, I switched my major from English to biology because I wanted to be a teacher to pay my way through medical school. But they laughed at me and was like, sweetie, teachers can't make enough to pay their way through medical school. So I switched to biology. Fast forward now, I'm writing poetry and not practicing as a physician. And so a lot of times we have these gifts buried within us that we forgot. So think about what did you like to do when you were back in elementary school? What were those gifts that you had deep down buried in your heart that you forgot about? Those gifts are still there. Maybe you don't want to be the circus clown. I mean, that was probably there. You may not want to go to Circus Vargas. But did you like to paint? That gift is still in there. Did you want to write? Did you want to crochet? Those are things that you can do. You can sell those gifts on Etsy and eBay. You might, be able to turn a hobby into a little side job. So a lot of times we forget about those things. Those are things that you can do to be resilient. Right now, everything is costing a little bit more. You can generate income. You can be resilient economically. You can be resilient in a lot of different ways. So I just want you to start thinking outside the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Terry, for joining us on YouTube channel, which is my home of 1009 shows and my red carpet playlist with interviews with people like Halle Berry, John Travolta. So please do free subscribe on my YouTube channel. And thank you for the turn your negative into a positive. Love it. And I wanted to also give my 8 cents worth on what you're saying about hurting yourself by playing the mistake over and over in my head. I help myself by exercising. Wonderful. I do that as well, which increases my mood and allows me to focus on the lesson learned from my mistake. So I would add to that, in addition to exercise, I believe that we have a couple people inside of our heads, and I know we're told if you hear voices in your head, you are crazy. But I believe that if you don't analyze and soothe the voices in your head, you will go crazy. And most of us who've had childhood trauma, if not all, and even those who have not had childhood trauma, have a thing called the critic. And our internal critic is the one that will keep playing over and over every single mistake we've all had done, real or imagined. And it's like that broken record. If I get 99 compliments and one insult, guess where my mind goes? To that insult, playing it over and over again. And my best example of that was when I was a professor at UCLA in the MBA school. I had so many compliments, and the students were so kind with their compliments. You know, the end of the year eval as a professor. And one guy said, if I have to listen to one more of Dr. Pay's lectures, I would rather chew glass. Now, I don't like sharing my failures, but I'll tell you, it was the best example of no matter how many awards I got, no matter how many compliments I got, that kept coming up over and over. And if we think we are the critic in our heads, we will go crazy. It will drive, no matter how much good you've done, you're going to go over that cliff. But if you recognize that you are balance-centered Terry, I am balance-centered Dr. Marissa, Tiffanie is Dr. Balance-centered Dr. Tiffanie, and you know that that's who you really are, not the critic. The critic, you can ask the critic to sit down. You can ask your critic and name your critic. My critic's name is Rose. Guess what my mom's name is? Not bashing my mom, but it's a quick identifier whenever I'm beating myself up or I wake up with a fat and ugly attack, that's not me. That's my critic doing the blame game, doing the shame game. And I can say, darling, Rose, I hear you. And I've written down all the insults that you've all given me through the years. That's number 650. Nothing new. I'm not fat and ugly. I am working on making myself how I want to see myself. But in the meantime, please sit down. You need a vacation. You got to be tired. And my ability to soothe myself and put the critic in here without killing her, because the opposite of the critic is a protector, then I will be able to remember who I am. I am balanced, Dr. Marissa. I am not that voice that beats me up. So hopefully that is a potential solution for what you're talking about, in addition to working out. Dr. Tiffanie, take a stab.
I agree. And I have had someone call me, fat, depressed Tiffanie. And a lot of times that replays over and over and over in my head. And I have to put that person and that comment out of my head repeatedly. And it is a difficult challenge. And I challenge everyone to be resilient and remember that no matter what other people say, no matter what other people think, you are in charge of your own destiny. You are going to be victorious over this life because you can do anything you put your mind to. And your mind is very strong, and you are very strong because you can will it to be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you think you want to do. Don't ever let anybody put you in a box. People will always want to put you in a box. I consider myself a Renaissance woman because I am a physician. I am a mother. I am a Christian. I am an author. I like to sing, and I can do whatever it is I want to do. I will not let anybody define me. I will define myself, and you can define yourself. That is the ability to be resilient. If I let the world define me, I would be a drug addict, homeless on the street, because that is what my father was. And I'm not that. You don't have to be what the world says you have to be. You can be anything you want to be.
Absolutely. I had a math teacher in grade 10 who had a suspicion that I was not being treated well, and that I came to school with a lot of sadness. And he kept me after class. His name's JJ Bristow. He looked me in the eyes and he said exactly what you just said, Dr. Tiffany. He looked me in the eyes and he said, you know, Maria, that was actually my birth name. I changed it when I started modeling to Marissa, and also to separate myself from that which I was, a victim of abuse. And he looked in my eyes and said, you know, you can be anything you put your heart and mind to. And that is the message that I share with every child that I can, no matter where I am, because that belief in me made me begin to soften all those critical voices. Someone believed in me. And I absolutely agree with Dr. Tiffany that we need to surround ourselves with people who believe in you. So if you're not feeling good about yourself, I have a feeling that not only have you let those voices in your head that criticize you take reign, you're also gravitating towards people who may be giving you even more insults that you collect to you. So when you are choosing the people that you are with, be really careful. Going back to my first point, how balanced are they in the criticism and the compliments? If they're only criticizing you, you may want to find someone who's a little more balanced. Now, people ask me a lot, how do you decide if it's something that you should change or something that is someone else's problem? And I have a little formula for this. It's called 3. If you hear the same feedback 3 times from 3 different people, it might be something that you want to look at to change. Not because you're doing anything wrong. Feedback is just telling you that that person would prefer you to say something different, to the way in which you're saying it different, the way in which you're showing up different. And if those 3 people have the same criticism, constructive criticism, then you might want to listen to it. If it's one person who you know is negative and is saying it to you over and over, it's time to get a new person. That's my rule.
That sounds extremely reasonable, because everyone that seems good is not necessarily good for you. And everyone who calls themselves your friend is not necessarily friendly and in your corner. And it's just the unfortunate reality. And I would say pray about it, think about it, and it's okay. Some people are associates. And as you look to be resilient in your life, be resilient in your friendships as well. Because again, everyone you call your friend is not necessarily friendly.
Absolutely. I had a guest on years ago, Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker, and she wrote a best-selling book that I love called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. And I have added to that, what I think of you is also none of your business. And I try not to give people any feedback unless they're paying me, because everybody does not have a right to my opinion. And that is one of the things that makes me resilient, is I try not to step into arenas that I don't belong because I will more likely step into it. And there seems to be this BS belief system for a lot of people, especially at work, that it is my right to be brutally honest. There is never, ever a reason to be brutally honest. And I believe that part of the problems we have today is because people think that they have a right to say whatever they want to say. Social media has taken that to a whole new level. And it's really not true. So I take another sheet of learning that I'm going to share from Dr. Simon. And Dr. Simon was the co-founder of the Chopra Center with Deepak Chopra. He was a neurologist that unfortunately died of a brain tumor. But at his living memorial, his last talk before he died, he said something that I will never forget. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it kind? Is it true? And is it necessary? If you cannot say yes to all 3, keep your front door shut.
I agree. And I think a lot of times people don't know how to be kind. And that's a problem in our society. And people bully each other. And that's going to be about my 3rd book, Little Engine Mia Sings. It addresses bullying, and that should be coming out this fall. Because I think a lot of times with social media, people can bully each other and get away with it and not face any repercussions. And it makes it easier for adults and kids to do it to one another. And with resilience, I think that we really need to have open communications about our feelings in safe spaces. And the key is safe space.
Absolutely. Yeah, the resilience piece for me on bullies is when someone lashes out at me, I say, hurt people, so that instead of that's my secret weapon shield, which says doesn't attack you, but it says obviously they're going through something that is triggering them and they are spewing it on me. So when people say, can I give you some feedback? I say, as long as you don't get it all over me. But usually if they're doing that, it's a reflection of them, not you. So resilience is a skill. Resilience is not something like a light switch. You do need to develop it. And hopefully we've given you a lot to think about in terms of developing your own resilience, because it is our wish that you are the best that you can be. That is the goal of Doctors in the House every Wednesday at 9 a.m. here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind, NBC News Radio. You are on TV as well, my YouTube channel. Last final word, we have 2 minutes. Go ahead, Dr. Tiffanie.
I want you to know that life is worth living, and no matter what, keep trying and don't give up. Keep pushing. I always say persevere, stay resilient, be like Teflon, and keep pushing forward.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow we have Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and Sam Works. So you'll have to come and listen to what we're talking about, relationships, tops, bottoms, and all kinds of fun stuff as we move into the weekend. But thanks for joining us here. It is all about balance. You know, I do this at the end of every show. Here we go. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Thank you so much to my co-host, Dr. Tiffanie Tate. You can find her all over the place. Join us again next Wednesday, but I will see you tomorrow. Now go and have the best day ever.
Bye for now.
See you.